are going to discuss about BPC 145, Block 2, that is Theoretical Approaches to Counseling. And in this Block 2, we are going to discuss Unit 6, Cognitive and Behavioral Approaches. So let us see what cognitive and behavioral approaches are talking about. First, we will see the behavioral approach. So in this, we'll see the behavior therapy, behavior modification, cognitive therapy, and rational emotive cognitive therapy. So what you will learn after this lecture? So basically, you will be able to understand the behavioral, cognitive, and rational emotive approach to counseling or psychotherapy. Then you will also able to understand the goals and techniques used in such psychotherapies and applications and advantages and limitations of such psychotherapy. So what is behavior therapy? So J.B. Watson in 1913 focused on the observable characteristics in psychology like overt behavior. Before that, like in our last class, we have discussed about the psychoanalysis. So in psychoanalysis, everything we discuss about the internal, inside of the mind. So Watson was not comfortable with such approach. So he had said that psychologists should focus on the observable characteristics, like overt, whatever you can see, observe. Such behaviors can be studied in psychology. Pavlov and Skinner, they have also worked on the learning theory. They have given learning theories, and they have discussed about the different mechanisms of learning. So all these things were overt behavior. In 1950s and 60s, development of behavior modification techniques were there. So let us see some important terms. Behavioral repertoire, that is the sum total of voluntary and involuntary overt behaviors. Learning. So like behavior therapy is based on learning theory. So how do you decide about the learning is there or not? Something is learned or not? So almost all behavior therapy principles or techniques are based on learning theories. So how do you define learning? Learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior that results from experience and practice. So here you have to remember this, it is not permanent, it is relatively permanent. Means if you learn something, it will be there for some period of time. When you learn something next, so you may modify this already learned behavior or you may change it. So learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior. And why this change occurs? Due to experience and practice. If this change occurs without experience and practice, then we cannot call it learning. Then shaping. So basically, it is a technique, behavioral technique used to shape certain behavior through demonstration, prompting, or reinforcing. Let us see the assumptions of behavior therapy. So behavior is the result of external and internal environmental factors. So if I am having certain thought, so I have to behave accordingly. If someone is getting thoughts related to fear, so he has to avoid that situation, fearful situation. So that's why behavior is the result of external and internal environment. So if you see snake, you have to run. Learning theories are valid mode of bringing a long-lasting behavioral change. Okay. Client plays an active role in bringing such changes. So behavior therapy is actually like giving credit to the client on, like if clients, they work hard, they want to change, they can bring such changes. Success of therapy is marked by translation of therapeutic goals to real life situations, and self-efficacy is necessary for achieving goals. Self-efficacy, as we have discussed in other previous classes also, it's like the perception about oneself, that you can manage the situation, you can manage your behavior in a particular situation. So if this feeling is there, it means the self-efficacy is there. If it is not, it means self-efficacy is down. So there is no such concept of psychological disorders. So they do not believe that psychological disorders are there. They only believe that problems in living. So if there are problems, you can correct it, you can improve it, you can manage it. So all, as I told you, almost all behavior therapies are based on classical conditioning or operant conditioning or social learning theories. So let us see this theoretical framework also to understand the behavior therapy in a better manner. So, classical conditioning. You all know that even Pavlov has given this theory in 1890s. He was doing a research on a dog on a salivation. He was basically a physiologist, and during the experiment, he found that the things which are not actually causing responses or eliciting responses are also started eliciting responses. For example, like when he was giving food, dog used to salivate. Okay, so that's a natural response. We call it unconditional response also, because this is natural, automatically it happens. And he saw that when he paired a bell with the food, like he first rang the bell, then the food is given. So what happens after some time? As soon as the dog hears the bell, he starts salivating. So this was very unique thing for the Pavlov. How come a bell elicit the response of salivation? So then he has given this conditioning theory. If two stimulus are presented together, so they are resembling each other, and one stimulus is which was natural, unconditional, and other become conditional also. So this experiment was very famous, and you all should read about this experiment in the textbooks. So what happens? Natural stimulus produces biological response, like seeing a snake produces fear, seeing food we salivate. Pairing of a natural stimulus, for example, hissing sound of snake with a neutral stimulus. Okay, for example, anything. So neutral stimulus acquired the ability to produce biological response. So just hissing sound of a snake may produce the same response, or if some neutral stimulus is associated with the hissing sound, the same fearful response may be there. Let us see the operant conditioning. Skinner has talked about the operant conditioning. He has given the concept of reinforcement, positive reinforcement, and the negative reinforcement. So if we want to increase the frequency of desired behavior, see, listen carefully. If we want to increase the frequency of desired behavior, we have to give reinforcement. Okay, it could be positive or negative, but in both the conditions, the desired behavior frequency increases. So rewards for desirable behaviors through reinforcement, and punishment for undesirable ones. But we do not talk about the punishment much, because reinforcements are better than punishment. So let us see here. So like this positive means you are adding some reward or stimulus or some incentive, whereas negative means you are removing something which is not pleasant. So if you see this in terms of reinforcement, like to increase the frequency of behavior, desired behavior. So in positive reinforcement, you are adding some pleasurable things to reward the individual or a child. For example, giving chocolate to a child for scoring 90% in a test. Or the teacher says कि those who will come with a complete homework done in next class will be given chocolate. And in next class, as soon as students, those who have completed homework, they were given chocolate. So this is positive reinforcement. So whenever the child in the class, whomsoever is bringing the homework, complete homework, is given chocolate. So it will increase the frequency of doing homework of the children. In negative reinforcement, it is like removing something displeasing to reward the individual. For example, reduce bad body odor after showering. Thus, it reinforces taking shower that remove the negative stimulus of bad smell. Uh, Whereas in punishment, in the positive punishment, through punishment, the behavior decreases. So if we give positive punishment, it is like adding something displeasing. For example, giving child a timeout for throwing a temper tantrums, or slapping, or scolding. Whereas removing something pleasing, for example, not allowing the child to play video games for throwing temper tantrums, or not allowing or not giving the pocket money of the child if the child does something wrong. So is it clear? So basically, reinforcement is very useful in teaching something. Okay. So the behavior therapists are using reinforcement in different ways. And so there are reinforcement can be given in different way. There are different way methods of giving. There are scale like interval scales or ratio scales, but I am not going into detail. That is not required at graduation level. But you must understand that positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. In both reinforcement, the frequency of desired behavior increases. So keep this thing in mind. Okay. And in positive reinforcement, we give something. In negative reinforcement, we remove something. In positive reinforcement, we give something pleasurable. Okay. Whereas in negative reinforcement, we remove something displeasing. Let us see the social learning theories. So Albert Bandura in 1977, he has talked about the social learning theory. He little bit opposed the classical and operant conditioning. Uh, it is not just on the observable behavior. There are some behavior which are internal also. So he focuses on the cognitive mediational process, thought, attitude, and values in learning. So he has talked about on these factors, and according to him, according to Bandura, the cognitions are basically mental processes involved in gaining information, processing, and storage. So what and it is observational learning. So there are two things. One thing is like cognitions are play important role in learning, and then observations. So how we learn? We learn through observation. That's why you have seen, even though some of the parents they tell their children, "Do not tell lie. Do not tell lie. We should not tell lie." But still, the child is telling lie. Why? Because the child is seeing telling lie phenomena in the family. Sometimes the there is a phone call and someone else has picked up and the person tells that the phone is there. So father says, tell that I am not here. So this is lie. So child learning by observation. Even though it is taught that telling lie is not a good thing. So it's clear Bandura focuses on observational learning. Why we how we learn? Because we observe certain things happening. That's why if there is suppose a dog phobia or a spider phobia or lizard phobia is there in anyone in the family member, the child will learn automatically. So same way, if there are family members who drink alcohol, who smoke bidi or cigarette, who chew gutka or khani, it is very possible that the children of such family may start using those things, those substances in adolescent or in adult life, definitely. Why? Because there is a model already. Model is there in the family, and they follow the model. They copy the model. So, what is the role of therapist? So, in behavior therapy, the therapist acts as a teacher and a model. So, why? Because the therapist teaches the client how to behave, how to learn something, how to unlearn something. And the therapist collects lots of information. The therapist design an intervention, which type of behavioral techniques will be suitable for the client. For example, the client is in anxiety, so relaxation techniques can be used. If the client is having phobia, so systematic desensitization can be used. So like that, if the client is having obsession of contamination and washing rituals, so exposure and response prevention therapy can be used. So accordingly, like this is the job of the therapist to plan the suitable intervention for the client. So effective and suitable. And also the therapist basically continually subjecting the outcomes of therapy to empirical validation. Whatever outcome is there, to see that it is it can be validated or not as per the already existing research, and maintaining conditions favorable for behavioral change. So this is the job of the therapist, to give such an environment, to create such a condition that it will help the client in behavior change, and the therapist is the problem solver. So whenever client come with any problem, this is the role of the therapist, to discuss such problem, to provide certain solutions or help the client to solve the problem. So what are the different techniques used in behavior therapy? There are several techniques. We'll talk about few only, which are mainly used in clinical setup. So relaxation technique. Relaxation techniques, like it is a mental and muscle relaxation, and it takes 4 to 8 hours of guided instruction. So that's why sometimes patient visits 8 to 20 hours for getting to learn the such techniques. So there are even the relaxation techniques are of various types, like deep breathing and Jacobson muscular relaxation. Okay. So in Jacobson progressive muscular relaxation, there are 26 steps which are used to relax the patient. So the purpose of this JPMR is to help the patient in understanding the tension and the relaxation. So each muscles has to be tensed and then relaxed. So patients are generally lie down on the bed. They and before giving JPMR, the behavior therapist generally they inquire about any pain in the body, jaws, teeth, any toothache, or any pain in neck or backache. All these things must be inquired. If the pain is there, so relaxation therapy should not be given without consultation of the doctor. So patients should be lie down. And the clothing should be little loose, and then the patient closes their eyes and patient slowly breathe in and breathe out, and then the therapist slowly guide the patient to tense the muscle and relax the muscle. Okay. So it starts with the fist, right fist. So patients, sorry, the therapist instruct the client like this. Now slowly close your fist, make it tight, feel the tension in your fist, make it more tight, feel the tension. Now slowly release it. Slowly release the tension. Feel the relaxation in your palm. Feel the relaxation in your palm. Now do it again. Make it tight, more tight. Feel the tension. Feel the tightness in your fist. Now slowly lose it. Make it loose and light. Release the tension. Feel the calmness in your fist. Like that. So actually like this only, that there are 26 steps and which make the patient very much relaxed. So once patient learn, like it takes around generally 10 visits to learn such relaxation. So then patient can do in their home also. And this is very effective in managing anxiety. So, and this relaxation is also given before systematic desensitization. Another technique is role play. Role play is basically the therapist become the patient and show that how the things can be managed, and how so patient watch the therapist, observe the therapist, and then accordingly do the things like that. So it's very effective in the treatment of social anxiety and fear. Graded task assignments, activity scheduling like daily routine or activity lists. So all these things are used in a behavior therapy. Pleasure rating. What happens sometimes patients do not find any pleasure in their life. So one log sheet is given, the activity done by the patient in the whole day or the decided activities. So after completion of the activity, patient has to rate the pleasure. Okay, then systematic desensitization I told, like it is used in generally phobia. So first relaxation is given. Suppose the patient is having spider phobia, then then a hierarchy will be made. Hierarchy will be like one picture of the small spider, then picture of a big spider, then or bigger spider, then it's black and white. First pictures will be black and white, then next pictures will be little color, having color, so that spider looks real, and then the real spider from the distance, then little bit near, then more near. So this is the way the systematic desensitization given in several sessions. But before exposing the client to a spider, the main job of therapist is to relax the client. So if clients are relaxed, there will be less, they are less aroused, or they will feel less anxiety. Another technique is flooding. Sometimes it is useful, but it's very painful for the patient in most of the cases. Flooding means you expose the most anxiety provoking situation all of a sudden in front of the patient, not in a graded manner, like in systematic desensitization. Okay, so it induces lots of anxiety in the patient, and what happens? So this anxiety, once the anxiety reduces, so the patient feel comfortable. But tolerating this much anxiety is difficult for many patients. Another technique is aversion therapy. In aversion therapy, some noxious objects are given to the patients to stop the behavior. For example, if a person is taking alcohol and he wants to quit, so in aversion therapy, some medication are given whenever the patient is uh, having alcohol, he may have vomiting or certain other effect. The same way, the electric current can also be given. So the like the pleasure will go and the negative impact of such technique will associated with the alcohol. So the patient will not take alcohol. Another technique is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This technique is given by Shapiro, and he found that if the eyes are movement in a particular manner, so the person may desensitize about the situation. It generally happens in this technique is used in trauma. Uh, if the person is having any traumatic event, so after that this EMDR is very effective. So and it is also very effective in post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). So we know that if there are some good thing about the therapy, particular therapy, there must be some critics of those therapies also. So some psychotherapists they say कि behavior therapist basically there is a power imbalance between counselor and client. Why? Because the counselor is more powerful than client. Counselor instruct, counselor guide, counselor give instructions. Everything is done by the counselor or imposed by the counselor on client. For example, in case of flooding or systematic desensitization, so everything is done by the counselor. But not 100%, but to some extent, it's true. Like counselor has to take the main role. And this behavior therapy is basically based on symptom focused solution. So it is basically work on the symptoms. If you have phobia, so it will work on phobia. If you have compulsions, so it will work on compulsions, like that. If you have anxiety, it will work on anxiety. If you have depression, it will work on sad mode only. So that way. And it basically lack of emphasis on client's emotional need. So emotional needs are ignored in behavior therapies. Now let us see what is behavior modification. So in behavior modification also the techniques basically used in behavior therapy, some of the techniques, and there are other techniques also which are used in behavior modification. Relaxation technique, as we have discussed, role play we have discussed, graded task assignments, activity scheduling, pleasure rating, systematic desensitization, flooding, aversion therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, cognitive behavior modification. So we have discussed all these except cognitive behavior modification. So let us see what is cognitive behavior modification. It is basically given by Donald McEnbaum, Who has given this? Then Donald Mackenbaum in 1977. So let us understand this technique. Self-observation leads to changing one's inner dialogue, and that leads to acquiring new skills. So how the self-observation does this? So like observing one's own thoughts, like I don't think I can speak in front of my class, or everyone will surely laugh at me, or I'm so nervous that I think I will forget all my lines. So if you observe your such thought dialogues, so you can change, you can try to change these inner dialogues. If you don't observe, then there is no possibility of change. So first you have to self-observe, and then changing one's inner dialogue. This self-observation will lead to changing one's inner dialogue, like changing those thoughts to more positive ones. Like I don't think I can speak in front of my class. It can be changed like I'm going to try and try to speak confidently in front of my class. I will try. Okay, I will try to speak confidently in front of my class. Everyone will surely laugh at me. This thought can be changed. My friends are very supportive of me. So now see, earlier you think everyone will make fun of you, but now you are changing your thoughts. Your friends are very supportive to you, and they will not laugh at me. Okay? And third one, I am so nervous that I think I will forget all my lines. You can change it like this. I have practiced a lot. I will be able to deliver my lines. So these are the simple techniques, but to practice such thing, you have to first focus on self-observation. So you try to understand your mental dialogues. Okay, then only you can make changes in your behavior. So acquiring new skills, then, and just like changing, just changing thought will not solve the problem until unless you acquire new skills. Suppose you have some difficulty in speaking, so what you will do, you will practice speaking. You will go for speaking classes. Okay, you can have tutor who can help you in speak in a better manner. You can learn lots of words, vocabularies, so you can use those new words in your vocabulary. So acquiring, learning new skills to cope with the high stress situation. Suppose you have to submit assignment, for example. So how you can submit? You have to write the assignment. How you can write? You have to collect the material, okay, related to that question. How you can collect? There are some material in your study material. Some you have to find out from the textbooks. Some material you can find out from the Google, where some soft copies of books and research articles are there. Okay, never copy from the Google. In Google search, you can find out certain books, and then you read those books and then write the assignments. So what you are doing here, you are developing study habit, study skills. You are developing how to collect material from various sources, then write it. So this is learning new skills. But another way is just read your study material and write the assignment. But that is not the right way. So you should have collected various material from various sources, and then you try to understand those things and then write. So it will help you in learning new things, and you will have lots of knowledge about that particular topic. Then you have to learn techniques like stress inoculation, stress management, to face the stress, to make yourself relax during the stress. Lots of things can be done. So this model is very practical for many clients, even normal people, even students. So try to practice also self-observation, then changing one's inner dialogue and acquiring new skills. So this model basically, as I told, focus on person's inner thoughts, teaching approach, basically teach the client how to change the dialogue, inner dialogues. Okay. So three-step framework given by Mekenbaum: observing one's thoughts, changing thoughts which lead to maladaptive behavior, and acquiring skills to cope better. Then stress inoculation, exposing the client to small stressors to immune them so they can basically become used to of that much stress or develop tolerance for larger stress. So in the during the exam they will not get panicked. Understood? So this was behavior therapy and behavior modification. Now we are going to discuss about cognitive therapy. Cognitive therapy basically talks about thoughts. Who has given this therapy? Given by Aaron T. Back in 1976, and it was given only Back has given model for depression. So according to Back, due to dysfunctional thinking, depression develops. Okay, if there are no dysfunctional thinking, then there won't be any depression. Then it focus on the maladaptive interpretation or perceptions. And psychological illness due to maladaptive behavior. So if a person is suffering from some type of disorder, it means due to his maladaptive behavior. So he has to learn adaptive behavior. So according to Alan Beck, human mind is capable of conscious thinking, not only unconscious, okay, and unconscious impulses. So both, he has focused both secondary process and primary process. So unconscious impulses are basically primary process, but the human being is capable of consciously thinking about those. And then it relies on the notion of universality in cognition, no difference among cultures. If something happens, like if someone scold you, you may get thought that you are not worth or you are not a loved one person. It relies heavily on empirical testing, and personality change occurs due to change in core cognitive schema. So basically, Beck talked about schema, distortions, dysfunctions, etc. So three levels of cognition: core beliefs, then dysfunctional assumptions, then negative automatic thoughts. How these core beliefs develops? So thousands of schema, core beliefs means schemas. Thousands of schemas and concept maps with millions of linkages. Schemas are basically mental representations of things, people, objects, etc. Deeply ingrained beliefs, not easily changeable, rigid and influenced by early experience. So they can be inaccurate, and most of them are inaccurate. So one example of a schema is the child who was not treated well by the parents or relatives may develop this core belief that he is not lovable. He is, or he may develop such belief that he is not very good person, or he may develop such belief that he does not deserve anything from anyone. So these are the core beliefs. Let us see the dysfunctional assumptions or cognitive distortions. So assumptions for how to live their life, then conditional rule for living. Conditional rule for living means like if I have to live happily, I have to get a top job, or if I have to live happily, I have to get 90% marks, or I must be top in my class, otherwise there is no point of living. If I won't pass, it means it is equivalent to death, so I should die. So this is conditional rule of living. So then sometimes they are unrealistic, not sometimes, most of the times they are unrealistic. Like there is no such type of thing if you won't talk, it means you are useless, or there is no point of living your life. You should die. These are unrealistic things, because getting top not only becoming a top not only depends upon you, it depends upon others also, how intelligent others are, how hard work they have done. And almost all dysfunctional assumptions are maladaptive in nature. They don't help you in leaving you happy. They don't help you, they create lots of problems. If you have maladaptive uh, assumptions, dysfunctional assumptions, you cannot study well, because you always, you cannot remember, you may forget, so you will put less energy in studying, or you may think that you might have dysfunctional assumption that you can't understand English books, so you will not try to read those books, or you can't understand books, so you are just dependent on the study material only. And suppose you have dysfunctional assumption like you are not a good looking person, or you are not very smart, your height is not good, your color is not very fair, or you do not talk very good, your communication skills are not very good. So what will happen? It will lead problems in interaction and functioning among. So your role in a group will be different. So core beliefs basically, if you face certain negative situation, there will be dysfunctional assumptions. Then negative automatic thoughts called NATs. So these thoughts come again and again, even though the person doesn't want such thoughts, they will come. The person wants to control them, but still they will come. So these thoughts come without any conscious control. You want to control it, can't be. They are automatic in nature, like our heartbeat. In response to some specific situation, such automatic negative thoughts come, and emotional responses are translated into a personalized notion. Most likely, these personalized notions are false and problematic in nature. So let us understand with this example. So a student got less mark in maths, class 10th student, in board exam, very less mark, around 50% he got. So if he has negative core beliefs, schemas, dysfunctional assumptions, so definitely he will get negative automatic thoughts like his life is useless. He is not, he should die, and everyone will laugh on him. So such type of thoughts coming again and again and again and again and again and again, and it will very difficult for the person to remain calm. So this will lead to the low mood. The person may not feel very happy, and it will create lots of problem for the student. So Beck has given cognitive triad. Triad means three angles, and and these things are more or less related. Like the first thing is negative views of oneself. Like I'm not very good, I'm not smart, I'm dumb, I can't do things. Okay, my communication skills are not good, my personality is not good, my family background is not good, all these things. So this is negative view of oneself. Then there will be negative interpretations or negative views of others or world. Others are not liking me, they will make fun of me, they are not supportive, they are cruel, like that. And then negative perception of the future. I will not pass, I will not do good things in future. It will be very difficult for me to survive such type of thing. So all these three things will basically having negative automatic. All negative automatic thoughts are related to these three. So these cognitive traits basically triggering of a depression due to a negative view of herself, tends to interpret most event in her or his life negatively or through a pessimistic lens, a bleak or dark expectation from her future or his future. So it is clear. So there are certain cognitive distortions. Let us see what are these cognitive distortions. So this is magnification and minimization. Magnification means the person is always using magnifying glass. So whatever negative things happen, even though the negative is very small. For example, the person got 90% in all subjects and he got 87% in math. So the person will be, no, I'm not good. See, I got only 87%. I couldn't get even 90%. I'm dumb. I'm good for nothing. So this is magnifying the negative aspect. Whereas minimizing the positive aspect. Suppose you got 98% in one paper, suppose in English, and in other subjects he got around just 80%. So he will say, see, just getting in one subject is nothing. It's good for art. It won't help like that. I'm not good. If I would have been a good student, sharp student, I have got in every subject 95% marks. Labeling and mislabeling. I'm useless. I'm good for nothing. These are the labeling. Personalization, everything which happens in general population, the person may personalize it. Dichotomous thinking means basically all or none thinking. Either I should be getting 100% marks, or if I'm not getting 100%, it means I'm useless. I should be topped in the class, otherwise it is useless. Then lots of emotional reasoning. What is the point of living if I don't get such marks? Arbitrary inference, picking cues, negative cues from the environment, selective abstraction, and overgeneralization. So all these things basically used by the patients, clients, and it may lead to depression. So what are the techniques can be used in cognitive behavior therapy? So basically, cognitive techniques focus on changing person's cognition. So it works on thoughts rather than behavior. The guided discovery is used, like therapists help the patient to discover the positive among the negatives, keeping a positive data log and thought record. And behavioral techniques are also used in cognitive therapy, like activity scheduling, a graded task assignment, behavioral experiments, relaxation exercises. Behavioral experiments are Like if the client is having low confidence, so this can be done through behavioral exercise. The therapist will help the client to sit up. Application of cognitive therapy. So its contributions to research in depression, it has lots of paper used in conjugation with other modalities like family therapy, parental training, skill training, etc. It is brief, time and resource efficient, client empowering and structured. There are limitations also, like it is oversimplification of inner world, though it is not so simplified, and the role of emotions are overlooked. Though it has talked about the emotions, but not very much. So, role of emotion in adding and prohibiting psychological distress. So that's why the rational emotive therapy can. So let us see rational emotive behavior therapy. Who has given this therapy? Albert Ellis. You might be knowing this. It is a type of cognitive behavior therapy, and it is basically educational therapy based on emotional distress, irrational ideas and thoughts, and the cognitions, emotions, and behaviors are interrelated and interact with each other. So that's why if you are getting negative automatic thoughts, your mood will also become low, and you don't feel like doing anything. So see, so these thoughts affects emotion and behavior the same way emotion affects thought and behavior, the same way behavior affects emotion and thoughts. If you don't do anything, you just lie down on the bed the whole day, you may your mood will be low and you may get negative thoughts. So individuals' connectedness with other people in the community also back to the psychological health. Let us see the theoretical framework. So it's basically like irrational beliefs, external origin, the need for acceptance, and ABC model. So irrational beliefs, they are implanted by someone significant in our life. Like parents say, you can't do it. No, you cannot do it because you are not so able to do this. First encounter during the childhood, belief system is created. Some harmful beliefs are sustained. The need for acceptance. Humans don't need acceptance in order to live their life. A lack of acceptance can cause irrational belief and self-defeating beliefs. Negative emotions leads to acquire self-defeating thoughts like blaming self, creating rigid and absolutist notions. Let us see the ABC model. So every situation can have multiple emotional reactions, and our preconceived notions or beliefs impact how we respond to within a situation. So A is for activating events, B is for belief of individual, and C is consequences that could be emotional or behavioral. So and there is as another things are added, so it becomes A, B, C, D, E, F. So D is for disputing intervention or disputing the beliefs. So if your belief is like that, you are useless. So you have to find out the evidence. How you can say that you are useless. So you may find one or two incident like you couldn't tell the answer when your teacher was asked in the class. You couldn't do a work. Okay, so you may find two three answers, but you will find lots of positive things also. You have done this, you have done that. So it means you will be having more evidence in favor of you are doing lots of things rather than you are not doing anything. Then effect of interventions and new feeling. So the like objective questions about thought of client to verify their status. Effects of therapy while bringing change in thoughts of client and new feeling of client after successful completion of the therapy. So what are the techniques REBT used? So it works on thoughts like therapist interruption, questioning and correction, irrational beliefs. So when client talk about the negative beliefs, so therapist interrupt. Therapist ask questions and then correct the irrational belief. For example, in depression, patients say that I am good for nothing. I am not doing anything. Yesterday, I whole day I lied down on the bed. I haven't done anything. So the therapist will ask, okay, so yesterday you were on the bed only, so you have not got up from the bed. So then the client said, no, I just got up and then I just brushed my teeth, have some bath, and then I eat, I had my breakfast, but I don't want to take, but anyway I have to take, and then again I lie down. So it means you were not lying down whole the day. In between, you were doing something else also. So this statement is not correct. That you whole day you were lying down on the bed. Then self-correction, like working as per ABC model, how certain antecedents affect our behavior and it may lead to consequences. Becoming REBT teacher, practicing observing irrational beliefs in other. So lots of skills are required and you have to go through intensive training for clinical psychologist and after that you can become a specialized RBT practitioner. So it's work on behavior, language change. Like in Mekenbaum's model, we have seen the dialogue change. The same way, lots of negative words are used for self, so those things can be changed. Work on emotions. So rational emotive imagery can be used using humor or shame attacking. So these are the simple techniques which can be used by the client and the therapist is going to teach them. So role of the therapist is unconditionally accepting client. So here same like we have discussed in Rogers theory, client-centered therapy, unconditional positive regard. So same thing, unconditionally. It's not like that if you do this, then only I'm going to accept you. Rejecting their irrational beliefs openly, showing warmth could be harmful, good at communicating and expression. So the therapist should be good at communicating and well versed with the techniques. So intense training is required. So application can be it can be applied to marital therapy, family therapy, and individual counseling, and can be applied to group sessions and suited for mild to moderate psychological ailments. As we know, critics, all therapies have some or other types of critical evaluation. So it's again like the power imbalance between client and therapist. So client's secondary problems are ignored and much emphasis paid on the primary ones. And confrontational style does not suit to every client. However, the confrontation is not direct. Sometimes the Socratic questions are used, or it is done in that way that the client does not feel offended. Balancing the past and the present. So past and childhood experiences are ignored and not much emphasis is laid on it. Thank you.